it's not what it ought to be. I think we could probably all agree on that. However, it's a lot better than it has been. That's for darn sure. I mean, way better. Many of the institutional blocks that held African Americans and other minorities back have been legislatively removed. It's a shame, perhaps, in many respects that it had to come to that, but there were some brave people that stood up for a number of years, and finally, at least from a legislative standpoint, while don't get me wrong, there's still room for things that need to be done, but many of the very basic laws that stopped many people from becoming involved in day-to-day American life and living the American dream have been removed.
The way things are being seen by the generation that's coming up and the generation that is actually coming out of the school system now is more or less not a black and white thing, but it's more on an economic, social ladder than anything else.
I don't understand racism, truthfully, right? I don't really get it, first and foremost. But I do feel like it's all about being honest with your perception and knowing what your mindset is. So if my mother told me what she didn't, if my mother told me when I was 5, don't trust them white people, they get you. That's my mother. So when I go outside, because growing up, a lot of white people didn't live in our neighborhood. But if I go outside of my neighborhood and the first white person I see, I want to hear my mother say, don't trust him, he'll get you. Right. So I feel like it really comes down to understanding that certain mindsets have been destroyed from an early age. And once that seed is planted, it's like the police. If the nature of the black community is don't trust the police, right? And I can say, why not? Because they beat up your uncle, almost killed him, now he's in the hospital. Come see your uncle in the hospital. Then I go see my uncle and he's all, yeah, the police did this to me. It's like that's gonna give me a new perception of what I think the police represent.
Right.
So then when I see Rodney King get beat up, and then when I see they play this clip on here, and then YouTube is playing this, and then so the overall perception is that the police are bad. But when it really comes down to it, they're not. So I just feel like it's really about the perception.
I wouldn't want to sit here and say that 3 or 4 generations from now, racism will no longer exist, because I think there will also always be a form of racism, not only in America, but in the world. We will always be judgmental, first of all, of people based on how they look and not by their actions. Right. So that we will always have that. That's a form of racism, and that is what's going to keep us divided for as long as God has us to stay here on this earth.
Possibly be just human nature, animal nature, whatever you would want to call it. That there's just, you put whatever into a room, it's a force of nature that just divides.
I definitely agree with that.
I have a real problem with this.
I definitely agree with that.
I have a real problem with what we're saying right now.
No,
Because
I
I talk to my kids, or the kids in the program come and talk to me, and they're like, one girl's Latina and another kid's black, and they don't sit at the same lunch table, and it's not because they're not friends. It's because of the looks they're gonna get. And that doesn't mean, I feel comfortable and this is a thing we should overlook. It's the year 2008. These kids are friends. They should sit at the same table if they want to.